All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We got a ton of requests to do a deep dive into American Express.
AXP.
Yeah, AXP. That's right.
Ticker symbol AXP.
And, we always listen to what you guys want us to look into. So we did a bunch of research.
Yeah, we really dug deep.
We really dug deep.
We got earnings reports, analyst opinions, all the financial data.
Yeah. If it exists, we probably read it.
Yeah.
So by the end of this deep dive, you'll know everything you need to about AXP, their performance, their potential, and, of course, the risks.
The all-important risks.
Yeah, because we want to know, is AXP a buy or is it a hard pass?
Well, to kick things off, AXP is coming off a really fantastic 2024.
Yeah, really strong year.
Not even just good, like truly phenomenal year.
All right, so give us the highlights.
All right, so they brought in a record $65.9 billion in revenue.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, and that's a 10% increase even as to readjust for, currency exchange.
Wow. And what about earnings per share?
That jumped 25% to $14.01.
Okay, those numbers definitely get my attention.
For sure.
So where is all this success coming from?
Well, it looks like AXP really knows what their customers want. They saw 16% growth in spending from millennials and Gen Z alone.
Oh, wow, so they're really capturing that younger market.
That's right. And that's a huge demographic with a lot of spending power.
Yeah, a lot of potential growth there.
Exactly. And it's not just in the U.S., right? Their international markets are also doing extremely well.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yep. 15% growth internationally.
So they're really a global player.
Yeah, it really seems like they have global reach, which is interesting because, everybody's worried about the economy right now, but AXP doesn't seem to be slowing down.
It seems like they're doing better than ever.
They are. They're not just riding the wave. They're picking the right waves to ride.
I like that analogy. Okay, so past performance is great, but what about the future? What does 2025 look like for AXP?
Well, if we go by their projections, AXP expects revenue to keep growing.
Okay, how much are they talking?
They're saying somewhere between 8 and 10% more revenue.
Oh, wow, so they're expecting continued growth?
Yeah. And earnings per share, they're projecting that to be between $15 and $15.50.
Okay, so that's potentially a 12 to 16% jump from 2024.
Yeah, big jump.
And they're really putting their money where their mouth is because they're increasing their dividend.
Right, a big increase.
Yeah, 17%, bringing it to 82 cents per share every quarter.
Now, that's a strong sign.
Yeah, it definitely shows confidence in future profitability.
It does, but this raises a big question, is this growth sustainable?
Right. They're really banking on the fact that people are going to keep spending.
Exactly, and that's not a guarantee.
Definitely not. We also have to consider some of the potential problems they could face.
Oh, yeah. There are always bumps in the road.
Yeah, like that $230 million settlement they had to pay out for those questionable sales tactics.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I mean, that can't be good for their image, right?
Yeah. You're right. It raises some concerns about reputational damage.
For sure. And then there's always the competition.
Yeah. You got the fintech companies popping up everywhere, and then you have the big players like Capital One. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah, they're constantly innovating.
They are. The financial services landscape is getting super crowded.
Super crowded, and it's getting crowded fast. So how does AXP plan to stand out in this, increasingly tough environment?
Well, they keep talking about their premium product strategy.
Yeah, but is that enough?
It's definitely a key differentiator.
Okay.
But we need to figure out, is it going to keep those high-spending customers loyal? The financial landscape is like a high-stakes poker game, and we need to see, does AXP have the winning hand?
It's a great analogy.
Nah.
So speaking of high stakes, let's talk about valuation. Our analysts have estimated AXP's fair value to be $278.67.
Interesting, because the share price right now is around $317.63.
Yeah, that's quite a difference.
It's a pretty big gap.
Is the market getting a little too excited about AXP?
Maybe. Are they overvaluing the stock?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. If you zoom out and look at the big picture, investors are very bullish on AXP right now.
Yeah, everyone seems to think they're going up.
They do, but that gap between our estimate and the actual market price, it should make us think.
It definitely raises a red flag.
Yeah. Is the market just caught up in all the hype, or are we missing something?
All right, so as we continue to analyze AXP, what are some of the things we should be paying attention to? What are the factors that could make or break their future?
Well, there are a few key areas to keep an eye on.
Well,
First, will consumer spending stay strong, or are we headed for a slowdown?
Right, because AXP's entire growth strategy is built on people spending money.
It is. It's a big gamble.
And then there's the competition. Can AXP really hold their own against the fintech companies and those big rivals?
Yeah, it's a batting for market share, and they need to stay agile.
Yeah, they can't just sit back and relax.
Definitely not. We also have to think about potential regulatory changes.
Oh, right after that settlement.
Yeah.
I'm sure the regulators are going to be watching them very carefully.
For sure, more scrutiny could mean more restrictions.
Yeah, and that could really hurt their business. Okay, so these are all really important points. As we move forward with our deep dive, which of these factors stands out to you as the most crucial for AXP's future?
For me, it always comes back to consumer behavior. That's the biggest wild card in all of this.
Yeah, it's unpredictable.
It is. If people keep spending money at the rate they are now, AXP will probably hit their goals.
Yeah, but if there's even a small dip in spending, that could spell trouble.
Absolutely. They're walking a tightrope between impressive growth and some serious challenges.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance.
It is. We need to keep digging to see if they have what it takes to stay on top.
All right, so we've laid out the basic situation for AXP. Now let's start digging into the details.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive in.
So let's take a closer look at their credit performance. Has it been good so far?
It's been excellent.
Can they keep those write-off and reserve rates low?
Yeah, especially with all those new customers they're bringing in and all that lending they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
They need to grow, but they can't be reckless.
Right. They need to walk that tightrope between expansion and responsible lending.
And what about their investments, in marketing and product development?
Oh, that's key.
Yeah, they're crucial for staying competitive, but they can also eat into their profits.
Oh, for sure, at least in the short term.
Yeah, it's that classic business dilemma. Spend money to make money.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to find the right balance.
And of course, there's always that wild card that nobody can really predict: foreign exchange rates.
Oh, tell me about it.
With AXP being such a global company, those currency fluctuations can really mess with their earnings.
Oh, yeah. The Forex market's a roller coaster.
It really is. All right, so we've talked about some of the bigger factors that could affect AXP, but let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's look at their recent earnings transcript.
Yeah, let's dive into those numbers.
There's always a ton of information hidden in those details.
Oh, for sure. So let's start with their performance in different business segments.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
So U.S. consumer spending was incredibly strong in Q4, up 9% year over year.
And I bet it's those millennials and Gen Zers leading the charge again.
You got it. Their spending growth is outpacing all the other age groups. They're the engine driving AXP's success right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, what about their commercial services segment? How did businesses do?
Solid growth in Q4 too, around 4%.
Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. And what about small and medium-sized businesses?
Those guys saw a slight uptick, reaching 3% growth.
So it sounds like businesses are feeling pretty good about the economy.
That's what the numbers are saying.
Okay, so things are looking up domestically.
Yeah.
But let's talk about international markets. I
Go.
mean, AXP had a phenomenal quarter internationally.
Oh, 15% growth adjusted for currency fluctuations.
That's incredible. Which markets are driving that growth?
It's a global phenomenon. All of their top 5 international markets saw growth in the mid to high teens.
Wow, so they're really killing it overseas.
Yeah, and they see a ton of potential for further expansion.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
They've barely scratched the surface in a lot of countries.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about that small and medium-sized enterprise segment as a key area for growth.
Oh, yeah. They're going all in on that segment, and for good reason.
Uh-huh.
They're not just offering cards anymore.
Oh, really? What else are they doing?
They're doing lending checking accounts, cash flow management tools. They want to be a one-stop shop for all of a small business's financial needs.
That's a smart move. Cater to the entrepreneurs, the job creators.
Those are the businesses that become loyal customers for life.
Exactly. AXP is playing the long game here.
They are, and they also highlighted the success of their high-yield savings account.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
It's been a big hit with younger customers.
Smart strategy. Appeal to the demographics with all the spending power.
Yeah, they're thinking ahead.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of positive stuff, but let's be real. There must have been some concerns raised during their earnings call. What were the analysts worried about?
Well, there were a few things that raised eyebrows.
Like what?
One of the big ones was about the sustainability of their revenue growth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
They had a huge jump in billings in Q4. Can they keep that up?
That's the question. Analysts are skeptical.
I mean, it's one thing to have a great quarter, but it's another thing to keep that momentum going.
Right. It's like a sprinter trying to run a marathon.
Exactly. So some potential turbulence on the revenue front? What about net interest income?
Yeah, they talked about that too. They're expecting growth in net interest income.
Okay.
But it could be slower than what they saw in 2024.
Oh, so not as much growth.
And that could put downward pressure on their overall revenue.
Okay. Couple of yellow flags popping up. What else are the analysts digging into?
Competition, of course.
Always a hot topic.
Big time. They were getting grilled about the pressure from fintech companies like Ramp.
Yeah, those guys are really shaking things up,
And then you have the established players like Capital One.
especially after that merger with Discover.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
That created a financial services giant.
So how did AXP respond to all these concerns about competition?
They doubled down on their premium product strategy and their focus on customer experience.
Yeah. But are they just throwing out buzzwords, or do they have a real plan?
Well, they're not just offering cashback and stuff like that. They're creating a whole suite of benefits and services that are supposed to make their customers feel like VIPs.
So they're going for that exclusive high-end feel.
Exactly. That's always been their brand identity.
But is that enough in today's market? I mean, aren't fintech companies known for disrupting the industry by offering amazing customer experiences?
That's a valid point. AXP is betting that their reputation and their understanding of their customers will give them an edge.
So they're hoping their loyal customers will stick around, even when there are newer, flashier options out there.
That's the gamble.
It's a risky one,
Mm-hmm.
but they've adapted and innovated before. Okay, let's switch gears for a second and talk about their net card fee growth. They said it's going to moderate in 2025,
Right. They said that's because of the high growth they had in late 2024.
which was driven by...
Product refreshes.
Okay, so they're expecting that impact to level off.
Yeah, in early 2025, but they still anticipate solid growth, in the mid to high teens.
Okay, so not as explosive as before, but still respectable.
Right?
And of course, we have to talk about those foreign exchange rates again.
The elephant in the room.
Always looming. AXP's guidance is adjusted for those currency fluctuations. But what if the dollar gets a lot stronger?
Yeah, they acknowledge that could hurt their earnings.
So another variable to consider. It seems like AXP is facing a lot of challenges and opportunities.
It's a mixed bag for sure.
What's their overall outlook?
Despite the potential headwinds, they're still pretty optimistic about the long term.
They're still sticking to those ambitious goals.
Oh, yeah. 10% plus revenue growth, mid-teens, EPS growth.
Wow, they're not backing down.
Nope. They believe in their premium strategy, global expansion, product innovation, and disciplined expense management.
It's a bold stance, but they've delivered impressive results in the past.
They have. It'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up.
Okay, so we've heard from AXP, but let's get some outside perspectives. We got a bunch of analysts weighing in.
Oh, yeah. Some are bullish, some are more cautious.
It seems like everyone has an opinion on AXP's future.
That's what happens when you're a high-profile company.
All right, so let's start with the optimists. What are the bulls saying?
Well, they're really impressed with AXP's brand.
Yeah, that premium brand and that incredible customer loyalty.
It's unmatched. They believe that gives AXP a huge advantage over the competition.
Yeah, both the old guard and those new fintech companies.
Exactly. Brand cachet and customer loyalty are powerful weapons.
They really are. The bulls are also excited about AXP's growth potential in international markets.
Right. There's a lot of room for expansion overseas.
And they love AXP's track record of innovation.
Yeah, and their commitment to making their membership model even better.
That's key. You got to keep those customers engaged and spending.
Yeah.
Okay, so the bulls are feeling good, but what about the bears? What are they worried about?
Competition is their biggest concern.
Makes sense. Everyone's trying to get a piece of the pie.
Right. They worry that Capital One and those fintech startups could steal market share from AXP.
Yeah, and that could hurt their pricing power.
Exactly. The financial services industry is super competitive. You can't just sit back and relax.
And the bears are also questioning whether AXP's recent spending growth is sustainable.
Yeah, is it just a temporary thing or is it the new normal?
Right? Was it just pent-up demand after the pandemic?
They're not convinced it's going to last.
Another worry is increased regulatory scrutiny.
Yeah, after that settlement, the regulators are definitely watching AXP.
Any more missteps, and they could face more fines or restrictions.
For sure. And lastly, the bears are concerned about AXP's valuation.
Yeah. Is the market getting ahead of itself?
Maybe they think the stock price is too high.
Too much optimism, not enough attention to the risks.
It's the classic value versus growth debate.
All right, so we've got a lot to think about here. Impressive performance, but potential headwinds, bullish analysts, bearish analysts. It's a lot to process.
It is. AXP is at a crossroads.
Yeah, they've done incredibly well in a tough environment, but they've got some big challenges ahead.
They do. Their success is going to depend on whether they can stay ahead of the competition, adapt to changing consumer behavior, and navigate the regulatory landscape.
It's a story that's still being written.
Yeah.
It's a story that's still being written. And as we, look ahead to the next chapter, I'm really curious about how AXP is going to handle all the competition from those fintech companies.
Yeah, those guys are really shaking things up.
They are, and AXP keeps saying that they're focusing on customer experience and those premium products.
Right.
But are they actually doing anything new, or are those just, buzzwords?
Well, actions speak louder than words, right?
Yeah.
So we got to look at what they're actually doing.
Exactly.
Wow.
What are some concrete examples of how they're innovating to stay ahead of the curve?
Well, one area where they're investing a lot is their mobile app.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, they're constantly adding new features and stuff to make it more, user-friendly, personalized, engaging.
So they're really thinking beyond the physical card.
Right. It's about building a whole digital experience.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, everybody's on their phones these days.
Especially as millennials and Gen Zers. They live in a digital world.
Exactly. So AXP needs to be where they are.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, what else are they doing to stand out?
Yeah. What else?
Well, they're using their brand power to create a whole network of value-added services.
Okay, you're like what?
They're partnering with, airlines, hotels, restaurants, all those high-end brands.
Oh, so they can offer exclusive perks and discounts to their cardholders.
That's right. They're creating a whole ecosystem of benefits.
That really reinforces their premium position.
Exactly. They're not just a credit card company. They're a lifestyle brand.
I like that.
And they're also using all the latest technology, artificial intelligence, machine learning to improve things like fraud detection, personalize recommendations, and make their customer service even better.
It sounds like they're doing everything they can to stay competitive.
They have to. The competition is fierce, and you snooze, you lose.
So we've talked about AXP's performance, the potential risks and challenges, and their strategies for the future.
Right. We covered a lot of ground.
We did. So what's the verdict? Is AXP a stock that people should buy?
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah. But is there an easy answer?
No, not really. It depends on, your personal situation, your risk tolerance, what your investment goals are.
Okay, fair enough.
There's no magic formula for investing.
But at least we've given our listeners a lot to think about.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We've presented a very balanced and comprehensive view of AXP.
Yeah, both the good and the bad.
Exactly.
AXP has a long history, a great brand, a loyal customer base, and a proven track record.
They're growing like crazy, expanding to new markets and innovate. Like there's no tomorrow.
But they're also facing a ton of competition, some potential economic headwinds, and the risk of more regulation.
Right, and we have to be mindful of their current valuation.
It's a complicated story.
It is, but the key takeaway is that there's both potential for AXP to keep doing well and risks that people need to be aware of.
I think that's great advice. And as always, everybody should do their own research before investing in anything.
Absolutely. We're just here to provide the information and insights, to help people make informed decisions.
Exactly. We want to empower our listeners to become better investors.
That's the goal.
All right. So to sum it all up, AXP is a company at a crossroads. They're operating in a very dynamic industry.
It's constantly changing.
And they're facing a lot of opportunities and challenges.
Their success is going to depend on their ability to keep innovating, adapt to changing consumer preferences, and manage all those risks.
It's a fascinating story, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, we'll be watching closely.
Absolutely. And we'll keep you all updated and provide more analysis to help you navigate the crazy world of financial markets.
We'll be here every step of the way.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive into American Express and you want more in-depth analysis of other companies and industries, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any of our future episodes. We've got a lot more deep dives coming your way, exploring all sorts of companies and trends that are shaping the business world. So until next time, happy investing.